What would a reasonable person think? Would a reasonable person believe that it's okay to have to open a 4-year-old child's abdomen and chest at the same time to stop bleeding and they die? Wave after wave of children coming in, mostly dead, cold and dead, some in parts, some intact. The gender-based violence, the dehumanization, the debasement, the no running water, no streetlights, the no food, the horrific infections, the children waking up paralyzed down one side of their body from shrapnel, children waking up and crying for their mothers, labeled, wounded child, no surviving family, WC, NSF, but no surviving family, no parent, or crying for their mothers, and they're now an orphan as well on top of everything else. If a reasonable person can stand back and say, this is immoral, this is unlawful, this needs to be stopped. You don't need to be a legal mind to do it. You don't need to be a humanitarian. You just need to be a reasonable person. They were on their 3rd round of measles and polio vaccination. And yet they couldn't get other equipment in. Why were they allowed to have those vaccinations? Well, we know from COVID that infectious diseases does not respect international barriers. So the cynic in me would say, well, we don't want polio and measles spilling into Israel, so we better have a vaccination campaign. But meanwhile, children were dying of hypothermia because that won't contaminate internationally. Children are dying of lack of food. We were seeing mothers, because it's still a very high birth rate in Gaza and Palestine in general, we were seeing babies born early, so a lot of premature babies, and babies small for dates. Classic sort of signpost of malnutrition and stress, the stress of war. I'll also point out as well, and this can be fact-checked, that before the war, if you look at maternal mortality and neonatal mortality, death of young babies, is also considered a fairly good signpost of how well a healthcare system is doing. The maternal mortality after birth or during birth and the neonatal mortality were better in Palestine compared to the USA. The driver we had who brought us out on the last day when we were exiting into Israel from Gaza, his last words to me were, and he was kind of tongue-in-cheek, but kind of not, and he had a diplomatic passport but wasn't allowed to leave. He worked for the UN, he was Palestinian, and his last words to me were, anyone left in Gaza now is either dead or will be dead very soon. Very chilling words.
How are you able to think about the humanity of the people who are sending the bombs over, the Israelis?
Well, Europe is also supplying arms. North America is supplying arms. So I think we have a shared responsibility. I think it's very, very unfortunate that if you speak out for the truth and you speak out for humanity against what's going on in Gaza, you can very quickly get tarnished with the stain of being an anti-Semite.